This is the solution to the challenge that I issued in the previous video that I called creating the other tables, columns, and rows. Only watch enough of this video to get unstuck and then continue on without my help as long as you can until you reach the point of frustration. Then watch a little bit more of this video and continue on. You may need to review some of the content and take better notes, or just maybe just really focus on the things that I said and open your mind. Maybe you're missing something just a little bit that's causing a roadblock. But you should be able to accomplish the challenge instructions that I set out previously based on everything that you know so far. So let's go ahead and get started with step number one, and that was to create a new publishers table and add two columns. The publisher ID column will have data type of integer. It'll be an identity column with a primary key, and then we'll create another column called name for the publisher, what will be an nvarchar 50. All right. So remember, you can't make so large of a mistake that you can't recover from it. You can always right-click and get into the design view, or you can edit the rows if you make a mistake. And the worst case scenario, I suppose, is that you delete a given table and start over again from scratch, reviewing the videos that I've created up to now. Okay, so let's go ahead, right-click on tables, and we're going to create a new table. And here we're going to call this publisher ID. It's going to be of type integer. And I'm not going to allow any nulls. And then in the column properties, I want to change the identity specification, turning it on, and we'll just leave increment and seed alone. And while I'm here, I'm going to go ahead and right-click this column and say set primary key. Next, I'm going to create the name column. We're going to make this an nvarchar 50, and I'm not going to allow any nulls there either. Now I should be able to save this table with the name publishers and click OK. Then I should be able to close this down, refresh the Object Explorer, and it should show up there. Great. All right, let's take a look at what's next. The next thing I need to do is modify the books table to accommodate the new foreign key by adding a publisher ID column and then creating that foreign key relationship between books and publishers. Great. So here's what we'll do. We'll right-click on books and then select design. And what I want to do is add a publisher ID. This will also be an integer. And notice that I just typed in there. I didn't have to use the drop-down. I just typed int. And I'm going to use the space bar. I use tabs and shift tab to move back and forth. And then I'm going to use the space bar to deselect allow null. So this allows me just to move more quickly through this designer, and I hit tab one more time to accept the changes. Now that's all that I should have to do at this point. I'm going to go ahead and save. It'll say you want to make sure that you want to make this change because you're really affecting, since there's a formal relationship, you're affecting more than just the books table. You could potentially be affecting the authors table as well. I'm going to go ahead and say, yeah, that's fine. So we've finished the first part of that step, but let's now go and expand the publishers node, right-click on keys, and select new foreign key. And here I want to go to the table and column specific properties, or specification rather, and then click the little ellipse button to the right. Here I want to select the book as the primary key table and the publisher ID. I think I did this backwards actually. Let's go ahead and cancel out of that. Cancel, cancel. We're going to go ahead and select delete, close. All right. So let's go to books, and right-click books and select keys, create a new foreign key. All right. You can see we've already got our books to authors. Now we're going to have a books to publishers, right? Click the little ellipsis next to the table and column specification. Here, the primary key table will be publishers, with the publisher ID being the primary key. There we go. And then the foreign key table will be books with the publisher ID as the foreign key. And then click OK. And then click Close. And then we're going to go ahead and click Save. So you sure you want to do this because you're going to be changing two tables? Yes. And now we're going to close all that down. All right. So the next step then is to do some insertions of publishers into our new into our new publishers table. So I'm just going to copy that data there, and I'm going to create a new query, and I'll go ahead and paste this in just because it'll make it easier for me to copy and paste it later on into my insert statements. So I'm going to go insert publishers, and then say, I'm just going to say name. In fact, there's a shortcut here. I wouldn't even have to list out the names of the columns. I can just go straight to values because there's only one column I'm going to set. And so in this case, I'm just going to set that name column automatically to Random House. So let's go ahead and execute that. Whoa. So what seems to be the problem here? I think maybe I still need to add the parentheses around it. Let's go ahead and execute that, and that should work. So that's the first one. Let's copy this, paste it below it, and then let's choose HarperCollins. This time, I'm going to go ahead and do it the way I showed you instead of the fancy new way. And I'm going to go ahead and specify the name column. Now, I'm going to go ahead and highlight both of these lines and then hit Control E on my keyboard, and it will only execute what I have highlighted. Okay, and then let's go ahead and copy this one more time, and I'm going to add in Simon and Schuster and put them here. Now, if you don't trust yourself, and that's good, you shouldn't trust yourself. I shouldn't trust myself. You can go ahead and comment or delete these statements and get rid of them completely. I don't like to remove anything I've done because it's a visual reminder of what I've already done. So I typically don't just delete this, and then hit the delete key on the keyboard, because I may want to come back to this at some point. So I like saving things around. It does make life a little more interesting and dangerous, but it is a good script of what I've done up to this point. You'll see how that might come in handy for you a little bit later. All right, so I was able to insert the publishers. How about creating the authors in the books now? So I'm going to go ahead, create another multi-line comment, and then paste all that data in so I can reference it. Let's go ahead and move this down because we don't need quite as much screen real estate there. And so the first thing we'll do is we're going to need to create authors. We can't create books yet because we don't have the authors. So let's insert authors, right? And let me just, because it's been a while, let me review what columns I need to insert here. I need to create a name, which we'll go ahead and use the square brackets around that, the biography, and the date added, all right, like so, and then values, and here I'll just set myself up, and we'll go November 28, 2016. I won't change that from author to author. Here we're going to recreate Kurt Vonnegut, and I'm just going to do something really simple here. I'm just going to do Kurt Vonnegut's bio, but oops, look at what happened. I've got an issue here when I used apostrophe inside of my literal string. How do I resolve that? I think if I just do, yes. The way to resolve that is to just use another single quote right next to it. This will escape the single quote, and it will be understood as a single quote, as an apostrophe, not as the delimiter for the literal string Kurt Vonnegut's bio. Okay. So let's go ahead and make sure this works. I'll select it and hit Control E, and it says one row affected. That's a good sign. I'm going to go ahead and copy this, paste it, grab off Ernest Hemingway, and we'll change this to Ernest Hemingway, Ernest Hemingway's bio, and heck, I'll go ahead and change the date to the next day. I'm going to select this and hit Control E on my keyboard. All right, we'll go and do this again. Copy it, paste it. Here I'm going to go with George Orwell, and we'll change that out. George Orwell's bio, and we'll make this 30th. And we'll execute that. All right, but also go ahead and keep typing because it builds muscle memory to, for example, easily find all the characters, special characters you need to create these insert statements. So I'm going to go ahead and type this out just to follow what I just told you to do. And that's really the purpose of this, is to force you to type. Typing is good practice as a developer because look, I can type, I can talk at the same time. All right, and you might have to do that at some point. Herman Melville, single tick, S, bio, and then we'll go December 1, 2016. We'll go ahead and execute that. Whoops. Values. See, that was important for me to see that I typed it incorrectly, and a value would not be acceptable. I have to use values. There you go. And then let's go to the last one, John Steinbeck. Okay. And we'll go ahead and just replace him this time. Bio, and then December 2, 2016, select it, and execute. Great. Now, here's what we're going to do. Select star from publishers, and select star from authors. All right, and hit enter. And so if I hit this is one of the things I'm supposed to do in step number 4, but we're just jumping to it here quickly because I'm going to need to reference these numbers. So Penguin House is 1, Harper is 2, and Simon Schuster is 3. Authors, looks like it started up at 3 because I deleted rows 1 and 2. I took a couple passes at this, right? So Kurt Vonnegut, Ernest Hemingway, George Orwell, Herman Melville, John Steinbeck. Okay, so I can actually execute both of these select statements, and when I do, they kind of come up in one grid over the other, which could be helpful as I reference them and insert the books here into the book table. So let me go ahead and drill down on the books columns. Then we're going to go here and do Slaughterhouse 5 will be the first one. So in fact, just copy this one more time. And I'm going to comment out all of this stuff here that I've already done. And I'm going to paste that there so I can reference it one more time. Okay, so now we're going to create a book called Slaughterhouse 5. So here we go, insert books. And then we want to give it the title, the description, and the price, and an image name. And then the author ID. And the publisher ID. You're like, well, Bob, but you never showed us that before. It's okay. You're just going to grab the author ID or the publisher ID from the select that we did previously. So notice that description. Again, another reserved word. I'm going to need to escape that out. I don't have to, but I like to do that. And now what we want to do are values, and we're giving this the title Slaughter House 5. The description, I'm just going to do something. This is the description, just for brevity's sake. The price, admittedly, we didn't talk about this, but I'm going to go ahead and give it a price of like I don't know, $5.99. Okay, and then the image name, I'll just do like 1.png. And then I'm going to create the author ID. So the author ID should be Kurt Vonnegut, who is author ID 3. And then Penguin Random House should be publisher ID 1. So if this works, I should be able to do the selection and the insert with Control E to execute the selected statement, and it works. So let's just quickly roll through the next one. I'm going to change this to Old Man and the Sea. We'll change this to $6.99. We'll change this to 2.png. All right, and here we want the Ernest Hemingway and HarperCollins. So let's run these two lines again. I selected them and hit Control-E on my keyboard. HarperCollins is publisher ID 2. Ernest Hemingway is 4. So 4 and 2. Like so. Go ahead and execute those two lines of code. Great. All right. Books. We want to now do George Orwell's 1984. Penguin Random House. Okay. We'll just make up some random price here. 3 PNG. And then let's go back here and make sure we can find Orwell and Penguin. I think Penguin was 1, but what's George Orwell? Is 5. Okay, so here we go. 5, 1. Great. All right, next up, Herman Melville, Moby Dick. And we'll make this $8.99. Give it 4.png. And here again, I'm willing to bet you that Herman Melville is number 6. Now, what is... I'm going to say Simon & Schuster, if I remember right, is number 3. So I'm going to wing it there and insert that. And then finally, we're going to go with The Grapes of Wrath. And we'll make it $9.99. We'll do 5. Here, you know what? Just for fun, I'm not going to give it a image name because that can be a null column, right? So we'll just give it nothing. That's actually an empty string. That's not null. Here's what we're going to do. Just for fun, I'm going to go ahead and remove image name there, and I'm going to remove it here, and now we'll insert nothing, which will be a null value. But we still have to figure out, I think Steinbeck was ID 7, and HarperCollins was 2, if memory serves correctly. All right, and so now let's go ahead and comment all of this out, because I don't want to accidentally insert those again. And then let's select star from books. And great. And you can see here, The Grapes of Wrath has no image and it just has the word null in big capital letters. So now we have select star from authors and select star from publishers. And this should complete step number 4 then to print all of these out. Great. Okay, so hopefully you were able to get this far. If not, don't rush past this. These skills are so fundamental. I've been doing this for 20 years, and they just come naturally to me. So you've got to get to the point where it's just second nature, and you're able to just, without even any notes, just roll through these. So the only way you get to that point is to practice for years and years, okay? So don't get discouraged if this is your first pass at it. You can figure this out, and it'll become second nature, just like writing an English sentence, okay? All right, so we're going to pick this back up. There's plenty more to learn. We're going to have fun and actually script out some of the things that we did so that we can get back to the current state of the database if we make any other changes from this point on. That's exciting. See you in the next video. Thanks.